Welcome to this online walkthrough of the United Reformed Church's Faith Adventures Youth Resource. Early in 2023, the Children and Youth Work team of the URC launched Faith Adventures for Children Together, a free weekly resource for those working with 0 to 12-year-olds in a church setting. We have been delighted with the response from those using the resource so far. And if you want to know more about Faith Adventures Children Together, you can find a parallel introductory video here on our YouTube channel. But we are aware that many of you work with a mixed age group, including young people, and might find some of the content insufficiently challenging for them. Or maybe you just run a group for 11 to 14s and you're finding it difficult to find appropriate materials to use. And so we decided to create a supplementary resource which expands on the material in the children's resource and goes just that little bit deeper. And so Faith Adventures Youth Resource was launched in January 2024. Just like the original, it is Bible-based, URC distinct, though not restrictive in that respect. Anybody could pick it up and use it. It's inclusive and accessible, and it fosters the personal God connection for our young people as well as their leaders. It taps into creativity and curiosity with a bit of a focus on fun. It's a pick and mix resource rather than prescriptive, and it's designed to be used by leaders or young people themselves in conjunction with Faith Adventures Children Together where the content in there is appropriate. We suggest a variety of ways in which to experience that text, to explore what God might be saying to us through that passage, and then to express a personal response, both within the session and during the week beyond the session. The material is not based on the lectionary. For lectionary material for this age group, we highly recommend our partner organisation, Roots for Churches. Instead, the aim here is to travel around the Bible, each month visiting the Old Testament, the Gospels, the Epistles and more, with standalone weekly sessions within a loose theme. But enough from me. Let's hand over to the writing team to find out more about what the resource offers to you and your young people.
Thank you, Lorraine. So you may use FAIR in a mixed age group. You may have some that are under 11 and some that are over. You can use FACT and FAIR in tandem, or it might be that you use FAIR material only and use it within a youth group session. You'll find when looking at the FAIR material that there are sections that have gaps and will say refer back to FACT. In fact, you'll find some ideas, some games, activities, whatever it might be, or you might want to think and come up with your own. It's completely flexible. You could use the FAIR material as an extension for some of your younger ones who need that slightly more challenging idea. If you do use the material in a mixed age group, you may find that it's good to use some bits together, but to separate the ages out at times so that the older ones have a bit of independent learning. To find it all online, you can follow our bit.ly link, which is up on the screen, or you can go through our website, which will be demonstrated now. Over to you, Leo.
The first section you'll come across in the new fair material is a session providing information about things that you might helpful when it comes to your planning of the session. So this helps put the Bible passage into a context so that it's not necessarily seen in isolation. It maybe let you know a little bit about what happened before or even what happens next, so that the session isn't in isolation really. It will also provide you with an opportunity for thinking about trigger warnings if we are dealing with subject matter, or if the Bible passage deals with subject matter that might be concerning to your young people. For example, it covers family breakup or maybe bullying. It just makes you aware of that so that you can prepare yourselves, along with a notification if there are any words or themes that might need explaining that are mentioned in the Bible passage. It's been written in such a way that it can be delivered by a leader or by a young person if they're working on their own. So it won't be necessarily exactly the same as the introduction for the fact material, but we hope that it will enable you and your colleagues and the young people to really get to grips with what the theme of this session is particularly about.
Let's start our time together with God and each other well. But firstly, let's explore what are experience, explore and express. Our faith adventures take us round the Bible. They're not linked to the lectionary, but they explore different passages each week and generally are gathered around a loose theme each month. Although most will stand alone and you can explore different issues as you wish. Faith is not about learning. It is about growing in relationship with God through Jesus and with each other of all ages on the path together, guided and inspired by the Holy Spirit. Our role is to create an environment where young people can experience God's Word, explore what it means for them as individuals and as part of God's family, and express their own response to it. So we start a session grounded in prayer. If you're using this resource in a mixed group, then young people can support the younger children to use the gathered prayer in Faith Adventures Children Together. If you're using it in a youth group, you could use the opening prayer in the youth resource, or maybe encourage the young people to write their own prayers and share them together. Games are always a good gathering point. They're useful to help your group work off some steam and to relax and bond together as a group. The Faith Adventures Children Together resource includes at least 2 games which might be suitable for 11s to 14s too. These games are linked to the theme, so are a good way of introducing the theme from the start. Sometimes the writing team might feel that a more age-appropriate game is more suitable for young people. So feel free to use that instead. In a longer session, you might wish to supplement your games with your group's favourite games. Please don't feel restricted by what has been written. Maybe you find a better game which fits the theme for you.
Thanks, Judy. And now I'm going to take us through the experience section of the resource. So in the experience section, it is all about unpacking the Bible verse that has been selected for that week. So each week there's a different Bible passage. In the youth resource, we don't always state a specific translation to look at, and we encourage your groups to explore different translations together. So you might want to use a Bible app or a website such as Bible Gateway to be able to bring up and explore different translations of the passage. And you're able to look at the different language and the vocabulary used in different translations and compare and contrast them. Which do the young people prefer? Are there particular differences in language that is highlighted when you look at different ones? There's lots of discussion that you can have there. You can also explore issues of inclusive and expansive language through looking at different passages, different translations of the passages as well. Do the passages use inclusive language, or where might they not use inclusive language? So this could mean using words like people instead of men, or looking at a variety of ways of presenting God within the passages, and not always presenting God as male. So a great way to unpack the issues of inclusive and expansive language with your group. The experience section also includes links to videos where you can explore the passage together. And we'll also, alongside those videos, we'll have some discussion questions to help facilitate and enable a discussion within your group. There'll also be suggestions for songs, which we think are particularly suited to the youth age range. But remember, you can also look at FACT, where there's suggestions for videos and songs as well, which may also be suitable for your group too, depending on the age range of your group. So now I'm going to hand over to Ruth, who will talk through the Explore section of our resource.
Okay, so let's have a look at the Explore section. Each week, this will give you suggestions to work with the young people to explore the Bible passage as well as the theme. You might find that some of the ideas, the activities, the group work that's in FACT, the children's resource, is appropriate for this age group. But what you'll notice here is that each week we will offer some either differentiation on the children's theme, or we will offer a completely new alternative activity. So as you can see here, on the theme of good news from the shepherds and the angels, we've suggested that the young people might like to research and investigate and go deeper into the theme by looking at how good news is shared nowadays. By taking many different articles from newspapers, all on the same story, a good news story, and to look at how it's given in different ways through each paper, depending on the audience, depending on the writers. What's the angle that's been taken? It's an opportunity to not only research and reflect, but also to learn new skills. This skill might be about analysing the information that you're reading in newspapers and hearing on the news each day. Having a bit of wisdom as we approach our stories in the world. So in that section, you'll have lots of ideas for young people to research for themselves and read more around the theme in an age-appropriate way. Moving down through the resource, you'll find modern parables. Now, you might think that this only has a place in the children's resource, but this is about using everyday stories, familiar stories, to think about things of God and God's kingdom, just as Jesus did with parables. So in this section, again, you might find that the young people are familiar with the picture book that's being used in the children's resource and will be able to read it in a way that they find it even deeper meanings. So don't be shy to use those stories with young people. However, in this section, we will also include links to TV programs, films, books, TED Talks, TikToks, anything really that can offer a stimulus to the young people to have an in-depth discussion and to play again with those themes. They might not explicitly mention God, but they will be around the theme, and we can find God in the ordinary, as we all know. So this will be a stimulus for discussion using online materials. Finally, in this section, we offer two types of questions. Again, sometimes you might find that the questions in the children's resource are at a level where young people would still be able to access them and find some value in them. However, we will always offer you a handful of going deeper questions. opportunities for young people to have that focused conversation around the theme. Also, you'll notice that we've given you 2 conversation starters. These are questions for your young people to take away from the group and use within their other world, at home, college, school, work, wherever they find themselves in the week. These are questions that they could ask to keep that thinking and keep that learning journey going throughout the week. So that's exploring together at an age-appropriate level for the young people, and linking into the children's resource often, but building onto it, going deeper together as a group. And now Nicola is going to take us through some ideas each week for how they can then respond and express their own faith and feelings.
Hello, I'm Nicola, and I'm going to be talking about the Express section of FAIR. So the Express section gives opportunity to respond to what's been discussed, and it makes space for the young people to express their faith personally. 11 to 14s might be really comfortable leading prayer themselves, or they might be just stepping out on a journey of prayer. But in this Express section, we give resources to support and resource them in spending time with God in prayer. Often in the creative prayer section in the fact resources, we'll give suitable ideas that would be okay to use with the 11 to 14s, but they might be a little bit young, so we also have suggested an alternative idea in this resource. Here's an example of one that I have been preparing for a resource coming out soon. So in the fact resource, we were talking about God's loving going on forever. So the creative prayer idea there was a circle that is never ending and some prayer beads to go around that circle. The young people are encouraged to think about what those colours might stand for. But perhaps that's a bit young for your age group. So we've also suggested making a Mobius strip, which actually is one of those continuous loops. If you were to draw a pencil line around it, it would never end. It's a flat surface, although it's going round in a circle. So 2 ideas, both thinking about God's love being everlasting and going on forever, but giving you ideas for perhaps different age range or whatever you think is suitable for your group. We also, in the resource, give a spoken prayer. And again, there is one in the fact resource, but this again might be too young for the 11s to 14s. So here's a great opportunity for them to be encouraged to perhaps write their own spoken prayer and to read out those prayers for each other, encouraging them to pray with each other and not perhaps have an adult leading the prayers. Also, silent prayer and a time to reflect with some quiet music is an alternative to any activity or spoken prayer that we've written in the resource. It takes away the pressure of young people feeling that they have to be able to pray out loud. It's important that we always make opting out an equally comfortable option to their opting in, where young people don't feel that they're being judged for their decision. The most important thing I would say about the Express section is that it's there to create a space to connect with God and for them to find their own way of praying and speaking with God. Thanks for listening, and I'm going to hand over now to the next person.
The activities that are in FAIR will be slightly more extended or more challenging, or maybe have a different aspect from what is written in fact. It might be that there is a gap in the FAIR session where activities are and will refer you back to fact. Or it could be that you may come up with your own activity that you think would work better. The activities that are in FAIR may often take an extension from the ones from fact, or it might be that it is something completely different but is a bit more challenging, may have a research element, or may be more of a practical nature. Over to you, Leo.
And the final section is the challenge. Now, you might not necessarily use this in the session itself, but maybe something to either send home with the young people or to contact the young people with in between your meetings, however you choose to do them, making sure, of course, that you stick to your church's social media and safeguarding guidelines. But it gets them to think again about what they've been talking about and how that might impact on their lives or their community. We're not going to be doing a postcard as we do with FACT, so there's nothing to send home with the young people with regards to this aspect of the session. But we do want to give you the opportunity, if you wish to, and if your young people wish to keep in contact with them between sessions. And the challenge is one excellent way of doing that.
So, having heard all about Faith Adventures Youth Resource, you might want to have a look at using it yourselves. So how are we going to find it on our screen? Let's have a look at the URC website. So here we have the United Reformed Church website. If we go to Your Faith, then Families, Children and Young People, you will find that Faith Adventures for Children Together and Faith Adventures Youth Resource are both on this page here. We have our how-to fact sheets for both resources. And here we have an index of Bible readings across the Children and Youth Work resources, and this is periodically updated. It will show you for every Bible reading that we've done anything about, it will tell you where to find those in our resources. We have gathering prayers in Welsh, and then we have the different months. I'm going to go for January, which is when we're launching our youth resource. And you can see that for each of the weeks of January, there's a session outline for Children Together, a postcard home for Children Together, and then thirdly, the youth resource. Here it is in all its glory. We love getting feedback, whether it's something that you'd like to see in the resource, whether it's something you've really enjoyed using, whether you've got photographs that you might be able to share. You can always email at the children.youth@urc.org.uk address, or my personal address, which is lorrainewebb@urc.org.uk. But even better, especially if it's good reviews, why not join our Facebook group? Let me show you where it is. Hopefully you've already found our URC Children's and Youth Work Facebook page. You can find it quite easily just by searching Facebook for URC Children's and Youth Work. If you go to More and Groups on that page, it will show you our Faith Adventures page, which looks a little bit like this. You can see that people have shared with us pictures of some of the things that they've done with their groups. And we've also used this to share with you any additional things that we may recommend or suggestions we might make, things you might watch, things you might want to try, and also notice of any trainings that we're doing. Why not pop along and join that Facebook group? I'm sure that you'll find it a really good way to network with others who are doing the same sort of ministry as you, and find out more about Faith Adventures for children, for young people, for the whole church family. So it's been lovely to share this time with you, and we bless you in everything that you do with children and young people in your churches, wherever you may be. Bye-bye.